last couple of days, your social media feeds, your television channels, your newspapers have been filled with news and pictures of what rains have done in India's IT capital, Bengaluru. Rains have wreaked havoc in India's Silicon Valley. Incessant, very high rains have caused flooding, waterlogging. But it's not just flooding and waterlogging. That's something, for example, that Mumbai faces every year. It has gotten so bad in some parts of Bengaluru that JCBs and tractors were seen evacuating people from their posh gated colonies. There were buildings where water and electricity was completely shut off. Exorbitant rates were being charged at hotels in certain areas, and there were reports about techies going to work on tractors just to brave the floods. The question over here is what went wrong? The focus has been clearly on number of lapses in granting permissions for expansions from Bengaluru cities. Unfortunately, it's a story that we see time and again in our Indian cities. Today, Karnataka Chief Minister acknowledged the massive losses and damaged crops and properties due to the rain. The civic body, the BBMP, has also started clearing out some illegally built encroachments. But is this going to be enough? Even as we see another 5 days of rain as per Met, and we know that there's a yellow alert on. The question still remains, how did Bangalore get so messy? To speak on this, I'm joined today by Jagat Iyer, founder and CEO of Vidphone. Harish Bijoor, brand guru, is joining us on the show. And I'm also speaking with Mohandas Pai, chairman of Aarin Capital Partners. I want to speak to some of the most prominent voices from Bengaluru because this city for the country, for the world, is our startup capital. Can you continue to create such immense wealth and intellectual property when your infrastructure is so poor? Let me first go across to Mohandas Pai for more on this. Mr. Pai, are you worried that as it happens in a lot of the big cities in our country and definitely in Mumbai, once the rains pass, once the spell is over, everyone will just forget about this trauma and move on like nothing happened?
No, I think there is a deep concern that the chief minister and political leaders will come, make nice statements, allocate money, and people will forget it and go on till the next crisis hits. So we have requested the government to announce what they're going to do, give us a time frame for the actions that they will do, and make sure that they set up a committee under the additional chief secretary to monitor it along with civic society representatives and give a weekly report to the public to restore confidence in the government. Confidence in the government and trust in the government has been hurt very badly. Confidence in the government by citizens, by business, by MNCs and investors. They're all waiting to see how the government will react. Everybody understands that the flooding was a natural calamity. It was not man-made entirely, but the huge amount of water could not find an outlet out to the drainage in the Rajakaule, primarily because they were all blocked. They were illegal construction and government slept on it. And there has been large-scale corruption in building approvals and buildings being done. And the state of the roads is not very good. So they understand that. But they're waiting to see what action the government will take to prevent any recurrence. And yes, the fear that you said, that, government will make some nice statement, they'll meet everybody, calm them down and announce money and people will forget because they get busy, is the real fear that we have in Bangalore.
Jagat Iyer, take us through some of, the horrific experience that Bangaloreans have faced. We know that one life has been lost. We've been seeing all these pictures and videos of billionaires trying to be evacuated on tractors. And of course, that makes for nice headlines. But the fact is, for the ordinary citizen, it's been a complete nightmare, isn't it?
Well, thanks for having me on the show. Look, Bangalore, as everybody knows, is a function of a lot of soft capital, right? We basically have people from all over India who want to come here and who really build a lot of careers here. So I think if we think of ourselves, and I am a native Bangalorean, I'm born, brought up here, but I work with so many people. I studied in Allahabad myself in UP, 4 years at engineering. So, we are all, I think, part of the problem at some level. And I think as an engineer or as somebody who's building a startup, we kind of look at it as a really big opportunity as well, right? I mean, let's kind of solve the problem. But yeah, definitely the pictures are not pleasant, and nobody has to go through such horrific situation with their families, right? But look, California has had serious issues with fires. It's again it's actual Silicon Valley. I say this is not, there's no valley here. It would have been worse if there was a valley. We're a Silicon Plateau, right? That's what I like to call Bangalore. But yeah, it's definitely been bad. But I think, unlike coronavirus, again, COVID, many people think it's already over and gone, right? So I speak to people, it's like COVID never happened. But that's, I think, human nature. Hopefully some people will take it seriously and we can find sustainable solutions.
Jagat, you're comparing, you're comparing what happened in Bengaluru to the California wildfires, and I assume that you're trying to say this is all climate change.
Not really. I think everything is a function of humans interacting with nature. The degree might vary, but typically it's a collaboration between people.
Yeah, I think you're being polite. You're an engineer. Isn't it messed up the way that construction has been done on areas which could have allowed water to pass through? Flooding takes place when there's nowhere for water to go through. This is rampant, senseless construction on display, isn't it?
No one's disputing that. Nobody's disputing that. I totally agree. But that's something that everyone knows. But I think how do we solve the issue is what we're looking at. Yes, we can look at the government. We have, of course, I come from construction, right? So we started one of the top construction colleges in India. But what I would say is that today, unlike technology or tech startups, of course, there's a lot of government involved. So we need to find better solutions.
Harish Bijoor, you obviously love your city. You know all about brands. How badly does this hit the brand Bengaluru? That the country knows as the fount of all of this new innovation, where all the startups live, where the unicorns flourish, and where basic infrastructure is now something that everyone's looking for.
Brand Bengaluru is certainly shaken, if not stirred. But I do believe this is a temporary issue. And I think we'll get back to where we were. Bengaluru is going to continue to be the ecosystem that develops startups, investor ecosystem, retail, maybe 11 other different categories that exist. What worries me, however, is the plight of the common man, because the common man on the street is hurt. And this is a very, very secular water flow. It does not spare the rich or the poor. Upper income group, middle income group, low income group, everybody is touched by the flow of these waters. So I think, it's all about a city that got greedy. Once upon a time, there was a gentleman called Kempe Gowda. And I think the planning that happened subsequently was great under many of our divans. The lake systems that were set up, with layered sets of lakes, one absorbing the water of the other. That was a beautiful, beautiful thing to happen. But I think we went greedy. We started building around the lakes first, and then we got greedy. From the lake view apartments, we became the apartment within a lake. And I think this greed is what has led to today's situation. Bengaluru built and built and built, and I strongly believe it's time to unbuild Bengaluru. Bengaluru magnetizes people. Bengaluru is a magnet city. I think it's time to demagnetize Bengaluru.
Mohandas Pai, that point about brand image to you, Harish Bijoor says the image of Bengaluru has been shaken, if not stirred. Why would any major business want to invest in the city if the infrastructure is so visibly poor?
Tamanna, I want to put it on record. The companies on that particular road, and nearly 1 million young people working in technology on that road, is something any city in the world, any country in the world will be proud of. And any city, any country, any head of government will make sure that all infrastructure is given. They'll showcase the rest of the world and be proud of it. In Bangalore, sadly, in Vidhan Sauda, some people seem to think that everybody is coming here because they want to come here. I mean, that's not correct. They have a responsibility to help create jobs for our young people and to give the right infrastructure, because we pay all the taxes. They have to get jobs done. They sit in Vidhan Sauda and don't bother about all these areas, because in their part of town, where I also reside, the infrastructure is pretty good, and it's old infrastructure, and much of which is done by the British, not by these people. So I think the image of India has been hurt, because people will say, in Modi's new India, why can't they manage good drains and good drainage? You've seen what has happened. Why can't they manage corruption? There is no corruption in New Delhi. Prime Minister Modi has made sure there's no corruption. Why can't the state government make sure there's no corruption, there's rule of law? Is the failure of governance, high corruption, and the fact that officials at the ground level don't obey the dictates of the government. And we also fear the government decides that allocates money, the money will be eaten away. We want to see action on the ground. And I think it's a matter of deep concern for the image of India, for the image of Bangalore, image of Karnataka. All three together, and many big companies are watching what the government will do.
Yeah. Harish Bijoor, important for authorities to show that they're going to do something about this, important to challenge these very harsh corruption charges that Mohandas Pai also spoken about. And so far what we're seeing is largely a blame game, that previous governments messed this up. What can we really do about it?
Big thing that irritates me is this blame game. I think every successive government has to be blamed for the way we are, because every government got greedy, every government gave permissions which were rampant, and nobody thought that this could happen. But when nature takes over, it teaches you things. I keep saying that water has a memory, and water will go where it used to go every year after a rain. And water never forgets where it should go. A city of lakes is no longer a city of lakes, but still water will go to those lakes beds. And I think those are the lake beds where we have possibly built. And I think we have destroyed the Raju Kaluwe system, the complete Raju Kaluwe system. So what happens? It's choking. So you choke a city, what else will happen? So I think as far as governments of the day are concerned, I have eminent respect for Mr. Basavaraj Bommai as a chief minister. But what is important is this of the people must translate into action on the ground in terms of action which suggests that this will not happen again. Please remember, we are famous. It's like saying rain, shout, rain, repeat. The same thing is going to repeat every year. And before it repeats the next time round, if not 7-8 months, we need action on the ground. And this action is necessary as a tribute to the ecosystem of Bengaluru, which is all about, which is hugely about technology. And I think at the end of the day, it looks like we have to find a technology solution to this rather than anything else.
I am glad you brought up this concern about this recurring every year, because here in Mumbai, this has become an annual affair. And I cannot any longer recall the number of years that I've covered the devastation that flooding has caused and untimely rains have caused. This is going to become more common than ever with climate change, etc. Jagat, you spoke about an engineer's perspective and you spoke about solutions. What in your view is the solution? Because we're going to see some demolitions in the days to come. Authorities have to show action, right? So they're going to go around demolishing some structures to say that we're righting wrongs. Is that going to be enough?
No, definitely not. Look, in civil engineering, I think we have had an overemphasis on only computer science or maybe electronics, right? We really need to think about engineering. And to me, engineering is about civil engineering, mechanical engineering. So when you look at, town planning, right? Let's talk of something very fundamental. How much of town planning has been done beyond, let's say, from Malleshwaram to Baswangudi, right? In the old, Bangalore was about, I was born in Malleshwaram, and Malleshwaram to Baswangudi is Bangalore. Everything beyond that was not really Bangalore. Now, how much engineering, and this is tribute to some, like Sir said, Kempe Gowda sir, these are amazing people. We are the home of Dr. Vishweshwaraya, right, who's probably India's #1 civil engineer. So I think we should draw inspiration from that, look at town planning, at the beginning, and how can we kind of iterate and use probably agile methodologies, and we need to find out quick prototyping and how government can give access to technology startups here in construction tech, build tech, where that's how I think it'll happen. Create a small sandbox like we did with Infosys, right? Government just said, okay, here's Electronic City, go and build an amazing company. And I think the whole ecosystem of Bangalore is probably built around a couple of areas like this. So that's what we need, I think, in my view. I don't have all the answers right now, but I'm sure we can figure it out pretty soon.
Best brains in the country reside in this city. Some of the most innovative solutions have come out of here. Is it time to enlist them? Let me get Mohandas Pai in on this. Mr. Pai, how can the private sector with this massive intellectual capacity which resides in Bengaluru, loves the city, how can they be brought into this process of improvement?
Look, we must understand, Tamanna, that democracy is a system of competitive lobbies. Okay? There's a farmers' lobby who have large votes, they get what they want. There's a cash lobby, which are large votes, they get what they want, correct? They're all system of competitive lobbies. So we in urban India and in Bangalore have to form our own city lobby and tell these people we're not going to vote for them and we want them to do these things and go after them and make sure it happens. And you must talk to the media and point out all these things so they'll be forced to act. We are a democracy and political parties and political representatives, in turn respond to the electorate. That's for sure, right? And, the big mistake is also that society in Bangalore and people who are well off don't fund political parties. I remember talking to the two big billionaires of Bangalore and asking them to fund political parties because clean money should come. Democracy has a price. All of us should fund political parties so the clean money comes into politics. And we must tell the political leaders we want the agenda, better governance for everybody, not for us, not as favors. We want better. They'll respond to you. One big political leader in Bangalore told me, when I asked him, why does he give seats to corrupt people? He asked me, who is going to give me money for my party? He gives me money, I give him the seat. So when corrupt people come, what will they do? They'll try to make money and corrupt the system, right? They'll corrupt the system. And while the politicians respond to you, so we have to form a lobby. We have to say, this is what we want. We are all taxpayers. We also have to fund the elections openly and give them by check. We don't have cash. We're not doing illegal business. And openly say yes and give it to all political parties. Not only the party you like, that's fine. You can give more, but give it to all political parties. So we have to be active participants in the democratic process. That is where the big mistake is happening in India among all of us as citizens. We think that once we elect, our job is done, they will do something. Then we sit in a house and criticize them, call them corrupt, abuse them, and make fun of them and Twitter and others and get away, think it's going to happen. It's not going to work. Your life is not going to improve unless you spend 5-10% of your time on community activities in improving a society, talking to political leaders. We need political leaders. They are representatives, but they will work for you, represent you when you interact with them. How many of these so-called intellectuals have met their MLA, their MPs? How many of them have interacted? How many of them have gone there? They sit, come and talk rubbish and criticize them and abuse them, right? It's very easy because you're all smart people. This must be done, that must be done, this must be done. But the reality situation is, the political leaders have taken care of everybody, including you. They have to do for the common good. So we have to interact. I think, we are not being strong participants in the democratic process.
Yeah. Interesting point of view there. Harish Bijoor, do you want to weigh in on how not just the common citizen who has a democratic duty as well to ensure that good work is done, but also how all of this intellectual prowess that Bengaluru possesses and this sense of ownership of their city can be harnessed into improving the situation?
I'm in total agreement with what Mohan is saying, because if you really look at Bengaluru is a blessed city. We have n numbers of people as individuals who are very public-minded people. The second is we have a lot of civic bodies, which actually are concerned about the city. And, they do eminent amount of work and they are intellectual war horses. But, the pity is nobody listens to them. The pity is that they do not get the kind of attention and respect that they must. And I think that needs to be corrected by the governance structure, which says that, hey, listen, governance is a collective enterprise. Only when the chips are down, governments tend to say it's our problem, our collective problem. When the chips are up, it's not our collective issue. So it's really important to say that if something like this happens, hey, listen, it's a collective effort. We will listen to you. We will actually get action going on the ground as per the plan that you bring to the party. This city has got tremendous bandwidth in terms of mind power, tech power, money power. I mean, you talk about all the powers, and yet you don't want to harvest it. My request is, I'm not asking for Bengaluru areas to be mollycoddled. Just nurture the ecosystem. Mohan was talking about the IT belt, you know, and he's totally right. Any other city, any other country would respect this and would actually take care of it. Don't mollycoddle this segment, nurture it. That's all that's required.
Hope this does not become an annual affair for Bengaluru. I hope the conscience of the city is jerked into action, the authorities are jerked into action, and they realize that the brand value that this city has created should not be allowed to just wither away under this massive infrastructural collapse. Thank you so much to all of you for joining us on the show today.
Thank you.